Now, when you get to the nitty-gritty instruction stuff, we want to be able to set this up. And this is a framework that I really like that I want to share with you guys today. Now, one is to set a goal or objective. The goal or objective should answer the question, why am I doing this, right? So whenever you have a team member that's like, why are we doing this? That's what the goal should answer, right? So it's either to, increase a conversion, make someone more money, create efficiencies, increase profitability, right? Like there should be a specific business objective that's tied to it. And if there isn't, as you're creating these instructions, you may want to consider, is this something that you're doing just for the sake of doing? Or is it something that's actually really helping your business? Is it moving your business forward? If not, is it something that you can start eliminating? So not only is this a great tool for the people that you're working with to understand like why they're doing this, right? And give them something to commit to. It's also really good because it starts to create for you whether or not you want to actually keep these tasks inside of your wheelhouse. All right. The second thing is your assets. Your assets are your collateral. Now, oftentimes when you give instructions, you may say like, go do this like that. Right. Right. Or go back to that old proposal, or go back to that, like this, type of landing page and create something like that. Now, it's so much easier if you can have a link to what it actually is, right? If you can have a link to that thing, so whether it's a template, whether the asset could be a video giving additional steps of what you're thinking. It can be documents. Like what is it that they need to be able to be set up for success, right? Now, those are your particular assets. Then the location. Like, where is this going to live? Oftentimes, I have clients who are like, oh my God, I can't find anything, right? Like there's this dungeon drive where people will go and team members will house like the work product that's being done, and no one has any idea where anything is, right? So inside the instructions, we want to make really sure that in case, like the other day, I had one of my team members who was on vacation, and and it happens to everybody. We're like, oh, where does this thing live? And even though we had the location, it's also about re-emphasizing those things are actually there. Couldn't find it to save my life. And I was like, oh, this is why the location is so important. And that's really what we want to make sure is that, anyone can kind of pick up if need be, right? So making sure that not only is it clearly stated so that on the back end, we have a lot of organizations with our folder structure, but that anyone can hand off and pick up. Then it's any tools or resources, right? Do we have videos that are helping us do this? Is there material that's going to help us set us up for success? Is there like any additional resources that we need? Is there a platform that we're using this? Where, do we need to go to, like if we're doing social media, is there a dashboard that we're putting this stuff in? Like what specifically is that we're doing? So that is the tools and resources, because sometimes people are like, what am I using for this? Right? So that's answering that question. Then there's what most people go to, which is great, is the instructions, right? We want to have instructions, laid out step by step. Now, instructions are really cool because everyone learns differently. And you can lay out your instructions in video format for on the fly. You can lay out your instructions in screenshots. You can lay out instructions in different Giphies, right? To like just show like quickly like where to go. And the instructions is going to be something that if wherever you're teaching someone how to do this, just be okay with it being iterative, and it's going to change and you're going to add to it. But beyond the step-by-steps how to do something, you also want to show people the criteria, right? So you can tell someone, okay, this is what I want you to do, but how do you make sure that they know how to do it successfully? So either giving them examples of past work, or telling them, let's say you're laying out a landing page. What kind of boundaries or buffers or like specific criteria you want included in that? That way they know and they're set up. Then there's special notes. Maybe this is something like the uncriteria, like, hey, this is what we never do, or hey, this is what's outside of the regular, right? Like this is the outliers, and like this is when you do them. Or sometimes in the special notes, let's say you did a video for instructions and something changed in the platform that you were using, then you might want to put that in the special notes like, hey, this changed. Don't forget to do this, right? Instead of redoing the entire video. Now, if you have a whole bunch of special instructions, it's probably time to redo the video or write out the instructions again. But the special notes just give people a little bit of ease to like, oh, okay, this is what, here's what I can look out for. Then there's the deliverable. How do you know that someone can hand you something over and it's complete, like actually complete? Now, sometimes there might be milestones. So there's pieces of what they're going to hand you that for review. And so you want, a couple of different spaces where you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to review the work. But you also want to make sure that they know, because oftentimes when you're receiving work, you might say like, this isn't finished, but they thought it was finished. So giving that very particular note is really important. And that way you can just say, hey, this is complete and now it's ready for review, or it's ready to hand over to the client, or it's ready to internally look at it, and we're good to go. And the last thing is, what is the measure of success? What is the metric for this particular task? And sometimes this is a little bit difficult, but making sure that people understand what they're being evaluated on for performance is good, because that way like they know like, hey, I'm doing a good job, or I'm on the mark, or like I just started learning how to do this thing and now I have a place to like work towards. For example, if someone's doing list building, that's great. Now you may want to have like your bounce rate attached to that list building, right? Like, hey, we know that this is a really good clean list given that our bounce rate is under 7%. So that's an example of giving a metric to particular instructions. Like there's all this stuff you have to do, but this is what we're really looking for to make sure. And then that metric will allow us as managers, or be able to say, okay, is this work product really delivering on what it's supposed to, as opposed to just thinking like, oh, okay, this looks good, I think this might be great. And it gives us an opportunity to be very, very particular about how we are evaluating things. And that's what we have in terms of creating instructions. Now, the second thing that I want to say is, as we're creating instructions, we want to think about it as an iterative process. Chances are you're going to get questions on them, right? So I would say, like, test your instructions or test your SOP. And you know that it's good if you can hand it off to somebody new and see how much questions they have based on it. And if they can ask you those questions, you don't have to think about it like, oh man, why are they asking me these questions? You think about it, okay, that's what's left, right? Like that's the gap of training, and I can put it back into the instructions and make the instructions even better so that, they're very robust, and then you're doing a lot less hand-holding. Given that, now you have a set of instructions that are consistent, and anyone who's new and comes on can go through them, and you're not having people shadow or having them learn through osmosis, and you don't have to repeat yourself 20 times, for the same thing over and over again. Now you have a repeatable training piece that can be part of your business, and it's adding value. All right, guys. Well, that is everything that I have to say today on creating instructions. And if you link to here, I'm happy to give you one of our examples so you can see what it looks like in real life. And so excited. Let me know what's going on as you guys are bragging and dragging for all of those crazy instructions that you're giving. All right, take care.